Well, hello, church family. We are continuing to march through our 21-day challenge. And as each day has come along, each day we are introduced to a new word, we're introduced to a new concept. And today's word is failure. You know, failure can take many forms, and failure can um, take many moments, many times to present itself. Sometimes our failures are known right away. Immediately we know we failed. We ran the red light. We said the bad word. Other times our failures can take time to become evident. In the scriptures, for the background for today's word is 2 Samuel 11 and 12. And many of you who are mature in your walk probably are very familiar with the story of David and Bathsheba, um, and also of Nathan and his challenge of his king David. The most exceptional thing that stands out in that story is the fact that David, once he was presented with the story from Nathan in chapter 12, he doesn't pass blame. He doesn't turn to someone else. He doesn't look to someone other than himself for the failure that happened. And all too often, self justification kicks in when we have failures. We say things like, well, if X hadn't happened, I would have been right. Or we say it really wasn't wrong, because besides, the company doesn't pay me enough anyway. So taking those supplies, that just evens things out. It wasn't a big deal because it didn't have lasting uh, consequences. I can't help it. It's just the way who I am. My father had a temper, my grandfather had a temper, so therefore I have a temper. I was provoked. The situation was to blame. Um, I was just having a bad day. We can self-justify our failures, but I've noticed that when we blame other people for our failures, when I blame other people for my failures, I never overcome them. I just move from one problem to the next, one thing to the next, and you can't get over it. You can't get better until you accept what you did, claim it, name it, and try to move past it. Sometimes those things take time. Sometimes they're immediate, just like the failures themselves. But the key to failure really is not to let it define who we are. God defines who we are. And God wants to use our story of overcoming our failures to encourage and inspire others to do the same. I just had a phone conversation with a friend at work who failed and is a Christian. And he looked at his failure as not representing the kingdom or Christ properly. And I had to put a little bit in perspective for him because, it's not our perfection that that wants people to come to Christ. It's our imperfection. It's the fact that we are still imperfect, that we are still unlovable, and yet Christ still loves us and Christ still is at work to make things better in our life. And he can't make things better in our life if things are already perfect in our life. So share your experience today of a failure with one person. You know, I've got great failures in my life, and I had the opportunity to share with my coworker some failures in my life. And it's through the admission of those failures, it's through the acknowledgement of them that true healing can begin, that the work of Christ can truly be seen in them. There's a lot to say too about how to apologize for our failures. Whether we're saying I'm sorry or whether we're actually truly apologizing. See another post earlier in this challenge for that. But when we accept our failure, when we claim it, The important thing is we don't live in it. Brothers and sisters, we need to live out of our redemption and not in our conviction. So don't let your failure define you. Let Christ define you, because that's where true life truly has its root and where anything of value will come. Take care.